ratings from the 1-0 defeat to Chelsea last night. We're going to start off with Vicario. Sim gives him a 5. I gave him a 6. The only reason I was thinking 5, the only reason I put him up 1, because I did think he made some good saves to keep us in the game yesterday, particularly that one at the end of the first half. But yeah, in the first half particularly, I just thought, like, I don't know what he was doing. His playing out from the back was causing us all sorts of problems, flapping at balls coming into the box. I mean, he just looked all over the place at times yesterday, to be honest. But I did think his shot stopping was on good show again.
Yeah, he made a couple of saves I can remember of note. Well, definitely the one from Sancho was actually a world-class save, so I give him massive credit for that. That might be up for like save of the month or whatever, because that was a phenomenal save.
Is that a thing?
There is a thing, yeah. Raya just won it.
Oh, okay.
So I think he'll definitely be in contention for that. I think it's a phenomenal save. One-handed, heading for the top corner and to tip it over. So phenomenal that was. The other one from Palmer, you do expect him to make that save. But he had this air of just nervousness, and he seemed like he wasn't on top of his game yesterday. Punching the ball in the air when there's no one near him. Poor distribution decisions, passing the ball out of play at times. He was making weird decisions for a few times, especially in the first half, as you said. I think the second half he calmed down a bit, but first half he was a bit all over the place, apart from that really good save. So nearly cost us a goal as well with that punch. So yeah, I gave him a 5. Wasn't a great day for him, but look, I'll give him credit because it was a brilliant save from Sancho.
Yeah, look, we say it wasn't a brilliant day for him, but without Vicario in goal, if we had like Kinski in goal yesterday, we're probably losing 2 or 3.
Maybe, yeah.
But anyway, let's move on to Jed Spence. 6 all round for Jed. I thought he dealt with Sancho really well, to be honest. And I think his one-on-one defending top-notch really is. Sancho got no spare change out of him probably throughout the whole afternoon. But in terms of going forward, I don't think he was able to get forward. He didn't impact really too much going forward. And he works really nicely in the tight spaces to get himself out of trouble sometimes. But it's that defending for the goal that we conceded. He's got to be getting out quicker, out to the flank and blocking and busting a gut to block that cross. And he was a culprit in conceding that goal yesterday.
Definitely. And you actually watched the goal, the move back. Sancho's to his left, so maybe he's thinking, I need to mark him. But actually, Sancho had Bentancur and Bergvall both on him. So he actually had 2 players on him and kind of who was marking him. So there was actually no need. When the ball comes out to Palmer then takes a touch, lines up the cross and swings it in. Spence had so much time to get over there, especially how quick he is. He has to go full pelt and making sure that either he's rushing the cross or he's blocking the cross and making sure that it's not perfect. And he was just lazily just kind of ambling his way over. There was no need to kind of do that. I thought it was ridiculous from Spence. I don't know why. But I actually thought he dealt with Sancho pretty comfortably throughout most of the game defensively. There was that one moment also in the first half, I think it was near the beginning of the game, he does like this like a kind of sweep in between 2 players, which was a marvellous piece of skill, which broke free.
He's so good at that.
Yeah, but unfortunately he then overran the ball and gave away to Casado on the same movement. But I thought defensively had a really strong game, backed himself in those one-on-one situations, and it was quite good. Actually had to move to centre-back for a bit of the game and did okay for the last portion of the game. But yeah, going forward, it didn't really affect the game.
I didn't get that why we put Spence at centre-back. I mean, why didn't he bring on like Gray, put him there, or Davis and put him there?
I can't remember what the substitution was. He brought Porro on.
Yeah.
And Van der Ven had to come off. So maybe he didn't want to make 2 subs. I don't know.
Porro came on for Van der Ven.
Yes, I'm saying, Porro came on for Van der Ven.
And Tell came on for Maddison.
Because he wanted to bring Porro on. So I'm saying he would have had to make 2 subs. Maybe he didn't want to make 2, I don't know.
Yeah, but we have a back 4 of Udogie, Spence and Porro.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're going to bring Porro on, surely the planned sub wasn't to take off Van der Ven.
It wasn't planned.
That's what I'm saying. So if you're going to bring on... You don't have to bring on Porro if you're forced into a change.
But he clearly wanted to bring on Porro, I don't know.
There's got to be a reason, you know what I mean?
Yeah, because he wanted probably his ability going forward in the final third.
But then you lose it with like having Spence at centre back. Just don't make sense. Anyway, let's move on to Cuti Romero. 5s all round for Cuti. Came under a lot of pressure yesterday. I thought, in terms of the physical battle against Nicholas Jackson, I thought he failed. There were some good moments in there, and he did defend well and put in a few really good challenges and a few nice little dinks into the midfield. But Yeah, I thought it was poor all in all from Romero. I was expecting a lot more from him, especially having him back with Van de Ven for the most part of the game. And he's got to be doing better in terms of that. We know like Romero is such a physical centre-back, so you can't get kind of physically overawed by Nicholas Jackson. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, I think Jackson was giving him a tough time, especially from the first minute, catching him out over the top. There was one moment where a ball gets played in behind. Romero literally has control of the situation. He's ahead of Jackson. He's literally about to take the ball, and Jackson just shoves him off the ball and just nicks it off him, as if like this isn't a guy who's a fantastic centre back. He was just as if he wasn't even there. It was actually embarrassing to watch at times. I think he did grow into the game a bit more, especially in the second half. But the first half, he was just a bit shambolic. Defending for the goal as well. He has to be communicating with Van de Ven. He has to be looking over his shoulder. He's caught ball watching. I know it wasn't his man who scored, but still, he has to be organising the defence a lot more. People have to be shouting at each other, speaking to each other. No communication there. His passing out the back wasn't particularly impressive on this occasion, I thought, as well.
A couple of nice things.
Yeah, it wasn't horrendous, but we've seen a bit better from him. Wasn't a great game from Romero. Wasn't like the worst, but it just wasn't good.
Yeah. Mickey Van de Ven up next. Sim gives him a 6. I gave him a 5. I thought it was a poor showing for the most part for Mickey. Didn't see those like recovery kind of challenges as often anyway as you saw them kind of on a regularity. I thought in the first kind of minute when Jackson looks go be bearing down on goal, I thought it was poor defending from Van de Ven at that point. And I felt for the goal that we conceded, I just don't know what he's doing. I don't know why he's going for the same man that Romero is. It just made no sense. You got 2 men on 1 player, then you got a free man in the middle of the box, which was Endo Fernandez, who ended up scoring. I just thought it was such poor defending from someone like Mickey Van de Ven, who we put so much hope in. He's been brilliant for us every time he steps off foot on the pitch, but I thought yesterday he was pretty poor. I
thought it was a bit better than Romero, but it still wasn't at his very best for sure. I thought some of his passing was pretty good. I thought sometimes actually he was asked to do a duel in the middle of the park. He was actually quite good. But yeah, he kept getting caught out in behind, which is not like Mickey Van de Ven. He's usually quite good, especially in the first minute. I thought definitely the way Jackson got away from him wasn't great.
Must be that
to be
running
honest.
style.
Yeah, potentially. I don't know why that happened, but it's not like Mickey to allow a striker to get away from him like that. So that was a bit concerning. The defending for the goal wasn't great at all. Going for the same man as Romero had, no communication about who's picking up which man. Romero should have been goal side of the attacker. Van de Ven should then be picking up the guy behind him. They both end up going for the same guy, and all of a sudden ends out a free header and it was a goal. So ridiculous defending. And then obviously he did pick up a little knock near the end of the game, it seemed, and didn't end the game particularly comfortably and had to be taken off. So let's hope nothing too serious. But yeah, I thought a bit better than Romero, but still not fantastic.
Destiny Udogie up next. Sim gives him a 4. I gave him a 5. And I'm starting to get really concerned about Destiny because we haven't seen him anywhere close to his kind of what we saw him like maybe the first half of last season when we thought we had like a top left back on our books. Look, I still believe in his talents, but he's just not showing it for a while. And I thought yesterday, he defended. Some of his defensive display was fairly good, but I'm looking at him going forward, and he's not doing those just using his brute strength and bulldozing runs to charge us on the attack anymore. And yeah, I mean, maybe with Van de Ven, when he spots that trouble, when he sees Van de Ven like going over to that man, he probably has to go over and look at Enzo, or otherwise Enzo's just got a free header in the box, and that's what happened.
Yeah, and again, no communication whatsoever in the box, and I think Udogie doesn't cover himself in much glory with the goal as well, albeit he did have a guy behind him. So he could have been free. That guy could have been free, but Udogie again has to smell the danger a bit, which he definitely didn't. I thought in his one-on-one duels with Neto was pretty comfortable, most of it. I don't think Neto had the beating of him too much. Going forward, though, especially sometimes he's on the ball and he's just so sloppy, just giving it away so carelessly and putting us under pressure really needlessly, which is really concerning. got to the byline a couple of times, but didn't really have the quality. There was one time he tried to put it back, I think, for Sarr, and actually Chalobah blocks it with his arm, so it was a bit unlucky there, but it wasn't a penalty because he was just sliding in to block the cross, but didn't really have the quality going forward, and I think his sloppiness in possession was what really frustrated me for a lot of it for Udogie, just giving the ball away so carelessly, and that really frustrated me. But defensively, didn't have a horrendous game, but then the goal, it wasn't great as well.
Yeah. Rodrigo Bentancur, 6s all round for Rodrigo. I felt like he was definitely one of our better players on the pitch yesterday, and particularly in the first half. I thought he was getting himself about, he was being aggressive in the middle of the park, trying to get us up the pitch a little bit. But I felt as the game wore on, he kind of was tiring.
Yeah, I thought it was definitely a bit better than what we've seen from him recently. And there were some really nice moments where he was getting the ball and in transition and gliding past a few Chelsea players where it was like, okay, he's looking like his old self. But again, some of his passes was, again, a bit careless. Defensively, he did make some really nice interceptions, I thought. And I thought when Chelsea were looking like they were going to really put us under pressure, he was one to kind of put a stop to it on a few occasions, which was quite good. But still, the kind of connection between him, Maddison, Bergvall wasn't fantastic. I think I want to see more from him, and especially when he's the most experienced player in that three, in that position defensively. He doesn't kind of take charge of it, and I want to see just more leadership from him, and that wasn't there.
Lucas Bergvall up next. 7s all round for Lucas. Definitely our best player on the pitch. Unfortunately, gets taken off by Postecoglou. Look, he was the only one that really got on the ball and wanted to take the game by the scruff of the neck and wanted to drive the team forward. The way he can just glide past players and set us up on the attack, yeah, fine. Maybe some other players are not on his wavelength and didn't make the most out of the kind of good work that he was doing, but at least he's the only one that has any sort of ambition to drive the team forward.
Yeah, I think Bergvall was the one showing real quality in the game, and he was the one, every time he got the ball, he was looking really creative and he was looking energetic. I was very surprised, and I knew as soon as Bergvall's name come up, the reaction was going to get, because he was our best player. Albeit there was that one moment, I think, actually, which we didn't give Udogie credit for. There was a one moment in the first half which Palmer plays a ball across the face of goal, and Udogie makes a brilliant challenge to stop the ball going in. So Udogie deserves credit for that. But if you watch it back, we actually had control of that situation, and Bergvall just completely switches off and allows Palmer to wander in and put the ball across the face of goal. He needs to be more aware, and that's what I mean about when you got players like Bergvall. I know he's playing well, but sometimes things like that, he's not tactically aware enough. Sometimes he loses his runners too often, and he needs to be more aware. And that comes with age, that comes with experience, and that will come with Bergvall. But at least on the ball, he was the one, playing forward, taking people on, looking to open up Chelsea. And when he was on the ball, he was the only one where it looked like something might happen. But he was taken off on the 65th minute, which was a lot of big surprise.
Yeah, I mean, it was his kind of poor header out that let Caicedo score that offside goal as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, look, it wasn't the best clearance.
Luckily for him, it was offside, because if that wasn't offside and it was probably given, we're probably giving him a lot more flack for that. Next up, James Maddison. 4s all round for Madders. When you need a creative spark in the middle of the park, when you need like a kind of leader, you need James Maddison, and he just didn't provide anything that we needed, to be honest. And the only thing that I kind of noticed from him from the away end was just the amount of times he was just complaining to the referee. That's pretty much all I saw him do yesterday.
Yeah, he had one moment in the first half, played a lovely ball out to Son on a transition, which nearly paid dividends. But other than that, I don't remember too much quality on the ball. I think we did look a bit better at times when he was kind of dropping a bit deeper, actually, and trying to knit the play together and trying to build up from deep. And I thought that those moments we were looking a bit more functional. But unfortunately, it was too few and far between. Second half, I thought, kind of out the game a lot, wasn't really doing much. He had a big moment late in the game where he had a free kick and in a really good position to snatch something, and it hits the wall, and that was a big moment for him. Didn't have too many shots on goal. Just and I'm comparing him to Palmer on the game. Like, Palmer was just so much more involved, just so much more involved in the attacking senses and like taking shots and getting to the byline and getting crosses in. And Maddison just didn't have the same influence whatsoever.
Yep, and that is why, I know he wasn't in the last squad, but that is why Palmer, it gets called up for England and Maddison doesn't. And You know, he needs to show a lot more on a weekly basis, Maddison, to get in Thomas Tuchel's reckoning for the England role. But look, I thought it was poor display from James Maddison yesterday. And you know what? Like, you've got a goalkeeper like Roberto Sanchez in goal. You saw the one time that we went for it with Pape Sarr. The ball goes into the back of the net, and unfortunately the goal gets ruled out. But like, Maddison has got that quality. Have a dig, man. Go get yourself in that area and have a dig from 25 yards. He's got the quality to do it. We didn't see it once. Wilson Odobert up next. 4s all round for Wilson. I think he flattered to deceive a little bit. He huffed and puffed a bit on that right-hand side, but wasn't really threatening throughout, to be honest. And I really wanted to see him go on some driving runs and go and attack his fullback. And I think the stat says he went on one dribble throughout the whole game. When, you know, we've seen he's got that dribbling ability and that dribbling quality, but in this game he just didn't try it.
Yeah, I think it was a struggle for him. I think Cucurella pretty much had him in his back pocket for most of the game. There were a couple of moments, especially in the first half, where he was looking bright. I think there was a nutmeg on one of the Chelsea players and he got burst into the space, but the cross got blocked. I do think when I'm comparing him to like Brennan, in terms of comparing their anonymous displays, I do think he was a bit more involved. He was a bit more willing to go centrally and try and play in between the lines. But at the end of the day, he was still pretty ineffective in the game. So can't really give him too much credit. But I would say there was definitely much more of a willingness to get involved, even when he wasn't having a great game, when I'm comparing him to someone like Brennan.
Yeah, and I felt like when he did get in the opportunities to put a ball in the box as well, his crossing was just so poor. Moving on to Sonny. 4s all round for Sonny. Unfortunately, another poor display from Son yesterday. And I felt like he was lacking quite a bit of confidence yesterday, because there was a number of times, particularly in the first half, where he had his man shaped up one-on-one to go and attack him. And he just turned back and started passing and going backwards, and it was really frustrating. And when you're coming into a game like this, you need your players of top quality, the Sonnys and the Maddisons, to really step up and show what they're about. And unfortunately, I don't think Son, put his footprint on this game at all. He'd got his chance towards the end. He was at a bit of a stretch, and if he scores at that moment and it goes 1-1, we'd probably take a point from the game. But that was pretty much the only sniff at goal that he had. And again, I'm going to say it, what I said for Maddison, with a player of Sonny's quality, you need to be getting those shooting positions when you've got a player like Sanchez in goal.
Yeah, the only time he did look to get into it, he got fouled, didn't he, for the free kick. So he was quite frustrating throughout the game. There were a couple of good moments from him, especially when I think he took on Gusto a couple of times, got to the byline, pulled it across the face of goal and caused a few problems, but just wasn't enough. And it felt like a lot of the time when we were getting into good positions, he was the one kind of it fell to, and he just wasn't doing enough, especially when the quality he does. He's supposed to be our star kind of player going forward, and he's not providing that quality in this game. He had a few opportunities to do that, especially on the breakaway, and unfortunately it was few and far between. There was one moment in the first half as well when Maddison plays a beautiful ball out wide to him. He has a really good opportunity to drive at Gusto, and he just gets the shot blocked. He doesn't get it on target. Really struggled to get off that quality, I think, and he had a number of opportunities to do so and just didn't show it.
Yeah. Next up is Big Dom Solanke. Sim gives him a 4. I gave him a 5. I mean, look, I think you can pretty much put a match kind of ratings or match synopsis of Solanke's performance so many times this season. You're going to say the same thing: tireless working, tireless running, but not enough quality and not enough service. And I think that's exactly what it was yesterday for Solanke. Yeah,
I think he also got bullied a few times by Colwell and by Chalobah. Should be competing a lot more. I think there was a couple of times he held the ball up quite well, but other than that, few and far between. There was one moment where he had a shout for a penalty in the first half, but was never really going to be given. He kind of goes for a shot, gets he swipes for it, but unfortunately he was quite weak in that position, I felt. Did have one nice moment. He passed the ball through to Brennan for the chance for Son, but that was really the only moment of quality. There was a few little flicks which never really came off.
You know what, actually, did we end the game with Solanke at left wing?
I think it was Son and Solanke up front with Tell on the left.
Yeah, so I mean, Solanke was playing more on the left, right? And I felt like when he got into when he moved there, I felt like he was actually showing a lot with his direct dribbling. He was trying to cause a bit of a danger. I thought he got a bit better in that kind of moment in the game, but still, like, not really much to go on. Let's move on to the substitutes. Pape comes on for Bergvall, 6s all round. I think he added a lot of energy to the midfield. He obviously the only one that took a shot from distance, and it went in the back of the net, but obviously his foul that got the goal ruled out. But look, I think he showed something, but look, it wasn't enough at the end of the day.
Yeah, it was a fairly decent cameo. You got to be fair to him as well. The goal that got ruled out, I know, was a foul, and he was the one who committed the foul, so you can have a few complaints. And I know Sanchez as well made a hash of the shot, but it was actually a pretty good shot from Sarr with a lot of power, really low driven. Should have been saved, but it was a decent effort, so give him a bit of credit for that. I thought we definitely looked a lot better when he came on, and he had that energy that we probably needed to kind of take the game to Chelsea. I did feel like maybe the goal being ruled out took a bit of the wind out of his sails, though, unfortunately, although it was quite soon after him coming on. But he did add quite a bit of energy. But it was a decent cameo, but it wasn't enough.
Brennan Johnson next. Sim gives him a 5. I gave him a 6. Look, put one nice ball into the box where Sonny could have got on the end of it. And I thought he added a bit more energy to that right-hand side when he came on, but still not that much quality.
Yeah, I gave him a 5 for that one moment. I thought other than that, he didn't really do much.
You know what I was really annoyed with Brennan? He just kept making these stupid fouls when we're looking to get the ball. Yeah. We're looking to attack them, and then just Brennan with these stupid fouls.
He also got booked for dissent, which, to be fair, he had a case because Porro puts the ball out and gets a corner. And in fact, I don't know if you probably didn't see the replay, and it's a minor thing, but Porro hit the ball off Dewsbury Hall, and it actually hits him twice before going out for a corner, and he gave the goal kick, and Porro was absolutely incensed. So I can understand why they were incensed by that, and he ended up getting a booking. But yeah, he didn't also made a stupid foul. He was actually could have been lucky not to be sent off because he made a foul and then kicks the ball away, and the referee didn't show the yellow card, so he's a bit lucky on that.
I felt the players' frustration though, because the referees yesterday were just so annoying, man. Every 50-50 was going Chelsea's way.
There was one moment where someone goes through the back of Solanke, he doesn't give the free kick, and then literally a second later, someone goes through Gusto and he blows up immediately. And that
so happened quite a few times actually throughout the game, and it was just like, come on, man, are we playing against 12 men here?
Yeah, the referee was frustrating. And obviously on top of that, he had the goal ruled out from VAR. But
that actually was the right decision.
That was the right decision.
That's the frustrating thing about it all. But look, let's move on to Ange Postecoglou. Sim gives him a 2. I gave him a 3. Can't get his team up for any sort of game at the moment. We can't seem to break down any sort of team. We're lacking creativity. We're lacking ideas. We're lacking cohesion. We're lacking pretty much all the fundamentals. And we're lacking an identity. That's the reality. And when you're nearly 2 years into a manager's tenureship, that should not be happening, and we've got pretty much all our players back now bar Decky, and it's just nowhere near good enough. And he takes off our best player in that moment in the game, and yeah, look, fair to him, it did get a little bit better, but you can't do what you did towards the fans. He's cupping his ears towards the fans on the back of that booing of the substitution. And when you're picking a fight with the fans, there's only one way it's going to go, and the guy needs to go. He needs to get sacked.
Yeah, I think the score I'm giving him isn't so much on how he managed the game, albeit, look, I don't have a massive problem with the lineup. The only thing the lineup I would say, I was just a bit surprised he went for Udogie over Porro. I just thought he would have gone for Porro, but he didn't. I'm not saying it was a wrong decision, but I was just a bit surprised by that. But in terms of how the game went, we were disjointed from the start. They could have scored in the first minute. We never really got going on the ball. I thought our build-up was shoddy on a lot of occasions, very, very sloppy. We had very little attacking threat. I actually thought his substitutions did improve us a bit, but unfortunately, when you're picking a fight with your own fans, essentially trying to make your own fans look stupid and trying to kind of call them out. And I know the fans, you could argue if the fans are giving it, they should be able to take it, but that's not how your manager of your football club should be acting when you've just got an equaliser in London Derby. You should be focused on how your team can get the winner. You should be trying to think about the game, and instead he's cupping his ear and saying, look who's laughing now, essentially. He's saying, look who knows what they're doing now. And that is no way a manager should be acting towards their away fans, whatever way you slice it, and especially given the position we are in the league and how he's doing as a job. He has to have a lot more humility about him, and it's unacceptable. And he can make all the reasons he wants for why he did or what happened there, but it's there for all to see. He's waving the away fans and he's cupping his ear. It's plain as day. So for me, that's completely unacceptable behaviour from a manager of this football club, especially one who has been given more than his fair share of lives in terms of how the season has gone.
Yeah. So that is your player ratings for the 1-0 defeat against Chelsea. So let's move on and let's go